Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Paolo Trianni and this is a review on Journey of the Gods. Now I said after I did my playthrough, and if you want to watch my playthrough, number one will be up there, that I would make this video. And so here we are making a Journey of the Gods video. I'm going to actually stick this up here so every time I look at my screen I can pretty much still looking at you guys. Yeah, so well, what to say about it? I really enjoyed it. It's quite an enjoyable game, so I'm going to jump straight into that, the enjoyable part, because I always want to jump straight into the graphics, and this is probably one where I'm not going to go straight away because, as you can already see, there's a lot to discuss there. Well, not so much to discuss there, so to speak. But the gameplay, oh my god, you get a crossbow, you get a sword. The sword kind of like glows many colors. You can upgrade your crossbow, you can upgrade your sword. Your crossbow has 3 rounds, upgrade has 7 or 6 or something. I think it's 7 rounds, and then you can charge it to get a charged shot as well. And if you get extra weapons, extra upgrades, tips, I mean, sort of like, so homing, arrows, armor piercing, you get explosive rounds as well. And if you fire those rounds whilst charged up, they will split into 3 in most cases, so it becomes a bit more deadlier. And you get quite cool antagonists in the game, like the NPCs. They're or the AI, whatever it is, they're from like, they start off as these little tiny like worms you've seen just behind me, and then they progress to these kind of like wolf-like things with this like really big teeth that come towards you, like, and they charge you. And then you've also got like a guy who's got a head that spins and fires a beam at you, and then this big massive like War of the Worlds type tripod type creature that shoots a big beam at you. If you're just standing there, it will kill you. And it takes a while to work out what their weakness is as well for that particular case, because you can't just shoot at its head like you would do with these worms, for instance, or most of the creatures in it. You can shoot at the head. Yeah, and it leaves it a little bit challenging, a little bit puzzling how to defeat a particular boss or a particular creature, and I think it just keeps you immersed, wanting to get through it. And the storytelling isn't perfectly great. I mean, the characters mumble and you have to kind of read all the way through it, and I don't really like that, but it kind of worked really well. You know, I've always moaned, being dyslexic, reading texts can blur out, and even though I can read them, obviously, but I just love good dialogue. And when I played Zelda Breath of the Wild, I was like really annoyed that there wasn't enough dialogue in there, and I heard there wasn't any dialogue. I was like, how can this even be considered as Game of the Year without decent dialogue? And I was wrong. It turns out that, you know, just having a cute little voice on it's almost like, you know, someone's translating it in writing for you because you can't understand what they're saying. And I actually quite like that. So I'm just trying to cover myself up from playing in the background of this video as well. So yeah, so Zelda Breath of the Wild does work, and in this it kind of works as well, because they've got quite cute little voices in this, and yeah, when you're reading the gameplay, it's pretty decent. But the story isn't massively detailed. It's pretty obvious that some bad person's come around. It's basically they're just covering up the sun with the moon, and eventually it become complete darkness. That's your goal, and this is kind of how the game progresses, with the moon going across the sun until you get to the end battle and save the day as the hero. Let's see if you can save the day as a hero, because I actually play this on normal, so I wouldn't know if I hope to think that difficult is quite difficult, the highest setting, which is hard. And I did mess up a few times, and it's kind of cute like that, like where that worm, that's one of the first bosses you'll meet. It's like pulling a house out it pulls the roof off and then tries to get in there and eat the people inside, and you know, it's kind of like cute the way they did it and stuff, and you just need to go in there and be a hero. So you basically play as a god, but you're not so much as a god. You're kind of like somebody that's been given god powers, and you know, with every feather you get an extra power. So basically, in every level almost, and in some level, I think there's one level where there's actually 2 eggs. You find these eggs, and then eventually they open up, and then a bird will pop out, and give you a feather. And that gives you more tasks you can do in God mode. So you go into God mode, it's a big overview of the map. So you're in first person right now, but when you're in God mode, you're looking down at it. And that always looks good in VR. This is probably one of the worst examples of it in VR, but Journey, Robinson's The Journey was probably another example of the worst of it, probably. But it still works, and it still does a pretty damn good job of it. But like for the first feather you get, right, for instance, it's like you can pull up, you see these trees here, you can even pull them down or pull them up, and it gets you into places, gets you into getting more upgrades for your weapons. Prevents enemies, because enemies, if you block them with those trees, they have to literally swipe them 3 times, I believe, to destroy them, which could take, some time and buy you some time to take out the enemy. Here's like one of the eggs that I've just opened up here, and you can see a bird's popped out, and it's like talking to you, and it says, "Oh, I'll help you." And then this is the one that gives you the tree. Is this the tree one or the lightning one? I can't remember. This is the lightning one, isn't it? So then, you can do things like strike down lightning, later on move dirt across so you can get to different parts of the level, slow down time. There's a few things, I think, that you can do, like move fire around and stuff like that, which all comes more helpful as you go on. In fact, you'll probably find that you don't really use them unless you have no choice to use them. So at the end you'll probably use it more, because you're just going to love going through with your crossbow and your sword and your shield, and you upgrade your shield as well, by the way. And there's also a few other upgrades, like you can find eggs which allow you to get like different little perks as you start the game. Like it will find you an upgrade. The next one is something like when you go into God mode. No, that's not the next one, is it? I don't know, but there is one where you go into God mode, and if you see a bird flying around, you grab it, you get belief back. Belief is what fills up your main feather. Your main feather will be on your arm. When you look on your arm, you have a main feather, and every time you destroy something, you get belief. You can find these crystals you shoot at, and you get belief, and it fills up your feather. And that feather just says how long you can be in God mode. So if you see like little chickens or birds hopping around as well, and you pick the little birds up, and then you get enough of them, you can go and then get that upgraded as well. So then, it can store more belief, and you can last in God mode a lot longer, and will go into it more times. Like I said, the antagonists change as you go through, so they get more difficult and they get more creative with it, I think. And so does the levels. The levels change because obviously the moon is going over the sun, so it's getting like it goes through the golden hour and to darkness almost as you get to the end. The bad person's pretty cool, and there's even a sort of bad moment at the end of that as well. I think the gameplay is definitely addictive, for sure. It was addictive for me, but obviously this is a personal opinion, but I actually felt that, I felt like a bit of a boss with the crossbow, getting headshots with it now and then. Felt a bit clumsy when I wasn't. And I kind of, it just made me want to carry on until the end. I kind of like that in a game. So now let's go on about more of a negative, which is obviously the graphics. This was a Quest game, and this review applies to the Quest as well, because there's nothing changed in the story or the gameplay. It's pretty much the same thing, except for the graphics, obviously. But even then, because this has been ported over, the major differences from the graphics only is round about the sharpness. I know the Quest has a 1600p, but the rendered value to the headset is less than the Rift S. So on the Rift S, this is so much more sharper. It's a lot more sharper game, and also I think it's more brighter. It's a lot more brighter on the Rift S. Obviously, the dark areas are going to be affected, but there isn't really any dark areas until you get near to the end. Right at the beginning, like from here. So, the lighting is done really well. And because the Rift S is brighter, because it's basically playing the game in a sort of golden hour moment. Almost like when the sun's going down, but in this case, the moon's covering up the sun. So, you've got these massive, like this bit here, just there where you saw the shades, massive parts of the shades and then massive parts of the light. And the way the light beams off stuff just makes it look, just makes a very basic looking game come to life. And the little bits of wildlife as well, like these butterflies here and stuff, and the campfire with the smoke. It all kind of comes together. But yes, the game is very basic. It's not blocky Minecraft. It's kind of Zelda-esque graphics, but it's not probably even as good as Zelda. It's very, very, very blocky and basic, lacking in any kind of detail, too much detail in the trees, or any detail in the rocks, or any detail in the characters. The characters is, I think I've said this before on another video, that the characters, they don't have faces. They don't even have the lips that Trover has, like little drawn on lips, which would have been just a nice little feature. You just kind of felt that is where they should have just added that little bit more. They should have had faces, maybe, because it feels weird just having the old man coming up to you and saying, do this, do that. But it almost like, sometimes I've actually confused its head with its back, because it's got a hump. And I'm like, I'm very confused. So it's nice if they had faces. However, the draw distance of the graphics is pretty damn good. Even on the Quest, it's not so bad. But I wouldn't say there's much of a difference between the Quest version and the Rift version. Not a whole lot. Particle difference maybe on the swords, and when you're charging the crossbow, I would assume is some of the biggest difference. Other than that, you can really see what the graphics is like for yourself by just looking right now. So you don't need me to explain it. But yeah, there are some mapping issues when you go into the waterfall, but you're not really supposed to go into the waterfall. There'll be some glittering issues where you'll see something shiny, you'll go up to it and you'll just realise it's just a graphical glitch. There's little tiny bits like that. It's not really that bothering. You do think you found something good though, when it turns out you found Naffle. At least you'll find things in the game as well, and they actually are useful. They're not just finding something and it just not be useful. I mean, I think Trover, when he said, get all the, I don't know what happens if you get all the actual babies in that, but it kind of felt like you were collecting a lot of that, and you did get extra lives, but a lot of it was just not really doing anything. So you were just collecting for nothing. Where in this, everything does something. You collect something, it's going to go to something. And that's good. I like that, because it means that eventually you're going to get an upgraded sword or weapon, and upgraded shield. It's fantastic. But yeah, the graphics is if you can put up with the graphics, it's fine. Now, I want to talk about the immersion, but I'm going to put the audio into the immersion as well. And the immersion and the audio is kind of what brings the immersion in a little bit, because a lot of people can't really immerse with the graphics probably, and some people can. There's moments where I've been in this game where I've been like, oh, damn, I actually do feel like I'm in this game. It is really amazing. I feel like I'm walking around in a fantasy world. Yes, it's, I don't need realism graphics to make me feel like I'm in a fantasy world. This feels like I'm in a fantasy world. But the graphics sometimes, where they're kind of like I said, the shimmery bits where the graphics didn't work very well because they just didn't finish it off, or didn't notice that part, or the mapping just doesn't come together that does break immersion. But then you have the sound, and when I first played this, I played it on the Quest. I didn't have any sound, but then I played it on the Rift S all the way through, and I've got the Mantis headphones on here. And the Mantis, I can't imagine what this would be like with the Index headset, but with the Mantis heads set on, the sound in this just immerses you even more. It's quite good. They did a very good job with the sound. It's amazing how that sound is like 10 out of 10. The graphics is kind of like a 6 out of 10. The gameplay is kind of like a 7 out of 10, because the story could have just been a bit better. But yeah, the sound is like a 10 out of 10. It is pretty decent. When you hit something, it makes a sound. When you're putting your crossbow on, it makes a sound, and it sounds like it's there. It's pretty damn good. When you charge it, it makes a sound. The surrounding makes a sound. It makes you feel like you're there, and that kind of brings the immersion back in to this game, which really, really, here's a weapon power up just here. you have to collect 3 parts to get an upgrade. It's damn interesting, really, how they pulled off such nice sound for this game. I would say, what is it, about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours long. You can watch my playthrough. I mean, that's how long it pretty much is. There's moments in my playthrough where I've actually cut off my parts where I've actually completely died trying to discover how to kill a boss, and then I'm like, and then I've just saved the time and cut that part off. I pretty much collected everything in the game except for one egg, which I'm gonna put a card up at the top right corner to show where that is in that particular playthrough. So if you look at my playthroughs, you should be able to find all the power-ups and everything as well, all the collectibles. How does it run? It runs extremely smooth. There was no problem with running this, no crashes, no janks. Like I think I heard somebody say that they didn't want to buy this because the demo on the Quest was janky, and I kind of maybe the Quest version is janky. I haven't been on there in ages, but the Rift S version is not janky at all. It's really smooth. I'm pretty sure the Quest version wasn't even that janky. It was okay. Maybe the demo is just a tad bit janky because the demo throws you in a little bit into the deep end. So maybe that just wasn't what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't Jeez, that word's gone completely out of my head. Wasn't I haven't got a clue. I don't know why that's just gone straight away. Wasn't finalised for that area anyway. So they probably just didn't put a lot of effort into the demo because they probably were only told very short notice that they need a demo to make a demo for it. So, if you get the game, I'm sure it will run a lot more smoother. It definitely does on the Rift S. I've done a playthrough, a Let's Play on this. If you want to watch that would be up here. That's the Let's Play of the Quest version of Journey of the Gods. I don't think it was that janky though. That video might be janky though, but because I had some issues with the OBS at the time. But it was generally quite smooth when I played it, I remember. So, would I recommend this game? If you're into adventure and a sort of Zelda-esque game, kind of like with sword combat and a crossbow combat, then yeah, I would recommend it. Would I recommend it at its current price, which is I think it's about £22 UK. I think it's $29 or something like that, somewhere in between for euros. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend it for that. I think it's got a good amount of gameplay in it. It's enjoyable. I don't think you're going to go wrong with any of the refund systems if you didn't like it. I will say though, I got this because there wasn't much for the Quest at the time, and I'm normally a stickler, and I always tend to wait for a decent deal half the time. Hence the reason why I'd rather the pre-orders, having pre-orders cheaper on the Rift, and I think for something like Rogan right now is fantastic because that makes me want to buy it. But if it was full price, I probably would wait. So yeah, it's up to you. If you want to buy this for the price that it is, I think it's worth it because I think it's a decent game. A very good game. And if you're somebody who thinks that you'd rather wait for a sale, I just don't second guess yourself. Wait for a deal. It might take a long while because this is available for the Quest. It's also cross-buy, so cross-buy games might be really, really hard to wait for, but it will happen. It's got to happen. So yeah, I would recommend it. It's damn good game. And this is Journey of the Gods on the Rift S and on the Quest. Very quick review, very simplified. I'm not going to go into it. I could sort of say oh yes, you strap yourself into a car, and then the graphics is like you hitting a tree and breaking your neck, and you're thinking, oh, those graphics are horrible. But then at the same time, the ambulance turns up and fixes your neck, and then you realise the gameplay. It's not that kind of review. It's just simple eyes, straight to the point. I think it's good. Graphics is good enough. Graphics, like I said, is about a 7 out of 10, because it's obviously coming up with a design here. I mean, it's going Zelda-esque. It's coming up with a design idea here, and I think it kind of works. It just needed a little bit more in there, like with facial. It's important, facial expressions and facials to the people you talk to. I think it's important. It's there on the enemies. I mean, like when you see some of the enemies, you kind of get the impression that they're doing something. But the good guys in it that you talk to, the NPCs that you talk to in the game, and all that, other than them stamping their feet and moving their heads like this or something like that, that's about the only time you kind of getting a feeling from them, and I kind of think a face would have made a difference there. So it gets knocked down for that. I think the lighting is amazing, especially as your sun's just going further away, and they kind of really pick that up really well. Like the audio is a 10 out of 10. It's very good. I think that something like an Index would have been fantastic for this. The port isn't very good. I mean, it works smoothly, but they didn't add anything that much more to it. Particle physics, maybe, that's it. The Rift version doesn't really have much more over the Quest version, in my opinion. But probably a bit better lighting. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's definitely more particles with the sword, like electric coming off the sword and etc. So yeah, there's that. But the audio, 10 out of 10. Gameplay, I would give maybe an 8 out of 10 or something like that, So overall, I would give this about 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. It's that good. I think it's that enjoyable. So yeah. And if you liked what you seen, please give me a like, which is over there. Well, it's kind of a like. It's kind of a thumbs up, isn't it? Right? And subscribe. And hit the bell if you want to watch more videos like this, or more reviews, more Let's Plays, more of everything. And that would be fantastic. Also, I love you long time, and all stay safe and well. Ciao.